Be old enough to remember the 1988 Olympics. But you know, I like the 4x100 meter relay. You know, the 4x100 meter relay is one of the best relays there are. And that was one of the relays that they were running in the 1988 Olympics. What makes the relays, what makes them so great is that any team can win regardless of how fast you may be. You know why? Because they said if you drop the baton, you lose the race. Yeah. That's simple. They said if you want to win the relays, it's one in the passing of the baton. One has to be able to pass the baton to the other, and then they move forward into the relays. That's how it works. In 1988, the United States had the fastest team to go to the Olympics. They thought they were undefeated. Nobody was going to be our 1988 Olympic team. We were bad to the bone. Those guys got to the Olympics. When they did, they lost. They didn't win the gold, even though they were the fastest team there. You know why? They dropped the baton. Anybody ever remember those Olympics? They dropped the baton. And simply dropping the baton meant they lost the race just by dropping the baton. You know James Dobson? I told you about James Dobson. James Dobson made a declaration. He says that one of the most important things a man or woman can do is pass the baton of Jesus Christ into the hands of their children. Amen. James Dobson said that. And as a pastor and a father, I would have to agree totally with him. Unless the baton of Jesus Christ is passed into the hands of those you love, you don't truly love them. He says, if you drop that, you drop eternity with your children. That is the mission of the church, to pass the baton into the hands of someone else. That is our sole purpose. That is what we're here to do. So then we get to this text, and he says, is it possible to please God without faith? The question becomes, how then do you please God? How then would you and I decide to please God? And the first thing I'm going to tell you is we got to define our faith properly. That's the first thing I'm going to tell you. Because the Hebrew writers open up this 11th chapter in the first verse, and what does he tell us? He says, now faith is the substance of things hoped for, and the evidence of things not seen. Substance of things hoped for, evidence of things not seen. You know, in Latin, when you look up substance, it means to sub and to stare. I thought that was strange. I was saying, why would they have the definition of stare for that in the Latin? But that was the reason they had it. They said it meant that you was something you would stand on or stand upon. Something in which would stand under you. It meant it was a solid foundation, a fixture, a building block, something very solid in which you can rest your hope and stand. I said, that's great. That's a wonderful thing to know. He says, faith is that thing in which you and I can stand upon, we can rest upon, and that will be our solid foundation. So he says that is the building block or the solid piece that we would start anything that we would have to do. And the writer agrees with us. He says we've got to define faith as the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. It is the very thing that you build as the solid foundation. It is the thing that says real faith. See, real faith doesn't say I'm going to get it. Real faith says I already have it. And there's a difference with that. So he was saying that's what you need to understand. See, he's saying faith is something I'm not going to simply get. It's something I already have. So for the Christian, we already have faith and we already believe in faith. That is something we use as our building block or something that we stand upon in which we make our foundation. Now I have to tell you that real faith, see, when we look at that, it is different from fact. Real faith is based upon fact, but it's different from fact. It's not the same thing as a fact. There are facts, but then your facts have to become what we call legal guarantees. Because in the original language, the substance meant a legal guarantee. In other words, it was something we were guaranteed that was going to happen no matter what. So it's not the same thing as a fact. It's a little bit different in the sense that it becomes something that is totally guaranteed. So what we do is we have to understand the difference between fact and faith. See, let me tell you some facts. Now, it's a fact that the Post-it notes were invented by accident. Fact. It's a fact that you know that bubble wrap that you pop, it was invented for wallpaper. That's a fact. Look it up. That's what it was invented for. It's a fact that you know the lighter was invented before matches. I didn't know that. That's a fact. It's a fact that I'm standing here talking to you today. But it's by faith that I believe you're listening. That's faith. Faith, see, is something that you cannot see. See, that was the whole thing. He said it is a legal guarantee that says it will happen. Whatever God has declared and decreed, it is guaranteed, a legal guarantee that it will occur. In other words, it is the building block, the foundation in which you and I stand, because we know without a shadow of a doubt that God is going to do what he says he's going to do. So as a Christian, what do we say? We're not simply believe we're going to heaven. As a Christian, we know we're going to heaven. In other words, heaven has a parking spot reserved for you and I. That says it. So what he says is faith, then, if we to understand it properly, and if we're to define it, it is a legal guarantee by God that he is going to give us everything that he's declared that he should give unto us. But that's not all. That's not all. It's also a legal proof. Because he said it's the evidence. It's the evidence of things not seen. I love that piece. Because then it says evidence meant to have legal proof. So there had to be something then, listen, in our definition of faith, there had to be something then that would give us legal proof. And the beautiful thing is that faith equals vision. Now, you're not with me on that yet. Because what happens is when he says it's the legal evidence or the legal proof, then he says, but it's out of that which you cannot see. So in other words, with your eyes you can see through the natural. But with your faith, you have to see that which you cannot see. So that becomes the spiritual. Therefore, you have to see through vision. There's a difference between sight and vision. See, a lot of people have sight, but not everybody has vision. The only way you can get vision is through faith. There's no other way to get vision. See, with vision, it produces faith. Faith produces vision. But see, what we look at through our flesh. And when we look at things through our flesh, we see them a certain way. And when we see them, then we don't see the vision that one has. And this is why you can't let everybody can't tap into your vision. Because they can't see what you see. See, that's why. See, they'll look at it through the natural, through the flesh, and they'll see one thing. Weakness. They'll see why you can't do stuff. But see, when you have faith, you're looking at it through the sight of God. Therefore, you have vision. And there is a difference. See, there's a difference. And this is how God then becomes pleased with the people who have faith. Because with the faith, it produces the vision. And this is why God, he's then pleased with you. See, he's pleased with you when you have faith. Because you see the things that cannot be seen. See, that's the difference. And see, let me tell you, don't let people make fun of your faith. They'll make fun of your faith. See, because they see it differently. And see, when you see things through the natural, you see it one way. But when you see things through the spiritual, it's totally different. For example, when I look up at the sun, that's what I see through the natural. But through my spiritual, I see the bright and morning star. I see Jesus Christ. See, that's through the spiritual. But when I look out into the fields, what I do is I see fields, but through the spiritual, I see Jesus Christ, the lily of the fields. So you see it different ways. But when I look at the clouds, yeah, I see clouds, but through the spiritual, what I see is Jesus coming back on the clouds one day. So I see it differently when I look at it through the spiritual. Let me tell you about Walt Disney. I'll tell you, Walt Disney died in 1972. And before he died, Archie, what he did was he bought swampland out in Florida. Swampland. Now with that swampland, they began to inaugurate the Disney, what you call Disney World. And when they did, Walt Disney was dead. So they were sitting on the stage and they had Mrs. Disney sitting there. Guy leans over to Miss Disney and she says, you know, I wish Walt was here in order to be able to see all of this. She was sitting there on stage. Then she leaned back over to the guy and she said, he was. He already saw all of this. That's why it's here. All right. See, that's vision. It's a big difference. See, you'll be able to see beyond what others can see. And that's why you can't let everybody tap into your vision. Because they can't see what you see. They will see something differently. I'll tell you, when I was dating this girl, this was before my wife, this is before you dated. When I was dating this girl, see, she came up to me, see, she said, Tim, look, Tim. This is what she said, like this is what I see. Did like that too, this is what I see. James, she did it like this right here. This is what I see. That's the way she did me, James. She said, like right here, Tim, this is what I see. I see, you know, we going to be married. I see we're going to have a picket fence. 4.5 kids. Where the half going to come from? And she said, Tim, this is what I see. I'm standing over there looking at it. Really now? So I move on her side just because I made my vision happen. I look up trying to see too. I'm touching and feeling. I'm like, I don't see it. I just don't see it. I don't see it, baby. See, that's why I couldn't tap into her vision though. She saw something differently. So I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it. But you can't let people criticize you or laugh at your faith. Because there's a difference in types of faith. There's what's called ordinary faith. Then there's something called biblical faith. They're not the same, Johnny. They're not the same. See, you know why they're not the same? Because there's ordinary faith can be given by anybody. Anybody can have ordinary. Right? No, everybody can have ordinary. Matter of fact, the unbeliever himself has ordinary faith. Matter of fact, they'll drink water every day believing that it's safe. That's faith. That takes some measure of faith. The agnostic will drive his car every day believing what? That the brakes will work. That's a measure of faith. See, then the atheists, what they'll do, they'll go to the doctor, believing that the doctor knows what he's doing, that he's got it all under wraps. See, they believe that. Why? That's a measure of faith. See, so what happens is you'll go buy a lottery ticket thinking I'm gonna win. Yeah, don't play like you don't know. Yeah, you bought one, then scratched it off. I'm doing this for the Lord. If I win something, God, you in first. See, I know. You don't have to tell me. That is a measure of faith, though. What you're doing is you're going to say, boy, if I win. See, but the quality of your faith depends upon the. You still didn't hear me. The quality of your faith depends upon the object in which it rests. No. If you believe that the brakes in the car are going to work, see, the quality of your faith depends upon that object, the brakes, that it rests. You follow it? If you believe you're going to win the lottery based on this ticket, you bring the ticket. That's the quality of your faith. Depends upon that ticket in which it rests. You see, you follow me? The quality of your faith depends upon the object in which it rests. So if you believe that the doctor knows what he's doing, he can't be wrong, then the quality of your faith is going to rest upon the object of the doctor in which it rests. But what I'm telling you is that ordinary faith, that's normal. But biblical faith, the quality of our faith, rests upon an object called God. And see, the difference, though, is the difference. The difference when you rest your faith upon God. God does not lie. God does not fail. God does not make a mistake. God doesn't come up short. God doesn't have it by accident. So the quality of your faith rises immeasurably because it rests upon an object that makes no mistakes. So what I'm telling you is then faith, our definition of it, assured, we have the legal guarantee and legal proof in the evidence and upon a God who does not lie, does not cheat, does not make a mistake, does not fail. The brakes never give out. I'm telling you, if you place your faith on God, the quality rises immeasurably. It rises. The quality of your faith depends upon the object in which it rests. And see, that's simply just defining our faith. Does it please God? Do you have that type of faith that then would turn and please God? Look. Now, we're going to go on to the next one. The declaration of our faith. He says in verse 3, the declaration. He says, by faith, we understand that the worlds were prepared by the word of God, so that what is seen is not made out of things which are visible. So it's made out of things which are invisible. That's hard for some people to grasp. It becomes very difficult. Because let me tell you a little bit about the evolutionists. Those guys says that the world has evolved. So in there looking at this text, they would have a problem with it. Because they're going to say, you put your faith in God? You're going to rest your faith in God? And evolutionists would tell you, no, you don't understand how the world has evolved. You don't understand what happened. They'll tell you about the Big Bang Theory, that matter